let's get this helmet off. That is much better. Man, this rut is a lot deeper and a lot harder than it looked from the bottom. How am I gonna get out of this?
Michael, what are you doing?
Hey, Sasha. Man, that was a lot easier at the bottom. Well, what am I gonna do?
Well, let's talk about that, huh?
Yeah, in this video, we're gonna show you everything about ruts, how they're made, and how to get in and back out of them. Let's go. Whoa. So, what are ruts? Ruts are grooves cut in the trail that go along the direction of travel, and they can be really tricky to ride in, as we can see. But they can be very, very tiny, or they can swallow your whole bike, or even a 4x4. So, Sasha, how are these formed? I saw in the news that motorcycles are ripping up trails and destroying things. Did a motorcycle make this rut?
All right, there are actually different kinds of reasons why there are ruts, and different reasons why ruts look different and are actually created differently.
Let's go up there and see where this rut started, because it didn't start out this deep. It started out much shallower than this.
Taiwan, because of the rain, this is the #1 reason why, because rain in Taiwan is really hardcore. We have the rain season, we have typhoons, and in the mountain areas, rain is usually ballistic, right? So as you can see here, right, you can see on the mountain side of that trail, there's already a small rut forming, right? And then as it cuts across here, right, the rut gets deeper, and here it's again on the mountainside, right? Now, when you come closer, you can see how deep this rut here is actually, right? It's actually up to my knees, right? I mean, okay, granted, I'm not that tall, but this is some serious depths here, right? There are ruts that are created by motorcycles, given. There's no way around that, but one indicator for that is that it's fairly smooth, right? It may not be all straight, but it's fairly smooth. The sidewalls for that rut are actually very, very smooth because it's been grinded by the tires. Now, if you look here, you have here rocks sticking out, right? Here it's really, really edgy here, right? When you look closer here, right? Not one single motorcycle has been through this rut, right? So this is 100% formed by water.
So you can see here that beside the rut, you have stones, rocks, and vegetation. Even leaves can increase your traction. So in a situation like this, you would want to be out of the rut. You would want to be taking advantage of this traction. And underneath that is clay. So everything in Taiwan is clay-based, and clay is extremely slick. So if you spin the rear tire and you don't control your traction well enough, you blow away this high traction stuff and you're left with clay. And then the next bike or the next person walking to come along has to deal with that slick clay, and it really isn't fun at all. Here's an example of a rut created by motorcyclists. Now you can notice that it's not as deep as those other ruts that we looked at, despite a huge wet season. And the reason is because the water has many paths to take on this hillside, and the hill actually soaks in a lot of the water. So the problem is that once we punch through this soft topsoil layer, we go from having really good traction to much worse traction, especially when we expose these roots and we hit roots. The bike will tend to kick to the side, and it's really not fun. So if we practice a little bit of throttle and clutch control, don't spin those tires so much, don't dig a rut down. It just makes it much better for all of us who are riding here and using this land. Many times it's the least amount of energy to back up. Now, backing up a dirt bike is kind of difficult because it doesn't have a reverse like a truck or a car would have. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to hold your back brake, pull in your clutch. Okay, if you want to back up, shift your weight to the front and compress the forks. Okay, so you see the forks compress like that. Then when they rebound, you throw your weight to the back and the bike should back up. You release the brakes at the same time, you throw your weight back. So we go forward and then back. Forward and back. Forward and back. Forward, back.
Okay, you arrived at this section here, and as you can see, we've got three choices, right? We have the right line, the center line, and the one on the left, right? And the right and the left rut, a little bit deeper. The one in the middle, not so much, right? But once we get here, which line is the best? When we ride uphill, we want to get up there as smooth as possible, right? So one thing that we always teach everyone is momentum, right? Momentum is your friend. The less your wheel spins, the better control you have, right? The more traction you have, and the easier it is to get up there. Now, one thing here to consider is the ground, right? Like Michael said just now, this is clay here, right? And this is really hard and really, really slippery, right? I personally, I'm not a fan of that. It's really, really like ice, right? So to me, the left line here is a no-go, right? This would be my last choice, right? Now, if your momentum is good enough, big enough, I would choose the center line, right? Because there are some bumps in there, but you have the occasional rocks here, right? Plus, you have at least a little bit of width here where you can work with. Obviously not too much to the side because they're round, and the chance of you to slip into that rut is really, really high. But you have some traction here, right? And you have some more traction up there. And if you keep your momentum up, it should be okay to get up there. Now, if this is not an option and your momentum is not that high and you're still fighting for traction, I personally would recommend the right line here. Yes, it's a rut, but you have more rocks, more little pebbles in there, and that will eventually will help you get up there smoothly.
So when do you choose to ride in the rut instead of being out of the rut? Well, for one, if your traction inside of the rut is pretty decent, then it can actually be an advantage to stay in it. Your motorcycle off-road tires and even truck tires have side lugs, and when the tire sinks down into the rut, it actually grabs onto the side of the rut and gives you drive forward. So if you don't have a big difference in traction between being up here and being down here, sometimes it's easier just to stay in the rut because it directs your tires for you. Now, you have to keep your weight over the contact patch and over the rut because your tire, it wants to stay here. It doesn't want to go the other way. So if your weight gets off to the side, you're going to be on the ground really fast. And you don't have so much control over the direction that you're going.
All right, just now we saw Michael taking the middle line, and what I personally really liked about that was his RPMs were low and there was basically no wheel spin. Now, I chose the right rut for comparison, and as you could see, it was actually not that difficult, right? Michael just now mentioned the rut will actually help you keep your bike in place. Obviously you have to be in balance, but you could see the bike was actually not going, back and forth the whole time. So it was actually pretty comfortable to riding up here because the rut helped me pick my line, right? So you could see also here, these dirt sections here, like looser dirt with those rocks, helped me to keep my momentum up, and I didn't have to be so nervous about all that clay here. So also a good line choice to make it up going using a rut.
So coming on up here, we have a rut that crosses the road. We'll try to pick one of these spots, probably right in here. You can see my tracks from before, where we'll cross. The angle is the key. If I come in here with just a little bit of angle like this, it's gonna just slip and it's gonna end up right in here, and then the tire is gonna try and follow the rut.
In conclusion, riding ruts can actually be fun. The problem is just that a lot of people use ruts and they just completely blow them out. And that's fine if we come back and we take care of those ruts and avoid those ruts to become even bigger and actually destroy the trails. If that's the case, hey, no problem. If not, try to stay away from ruts. Try to stay on the flat stuff. If you find yourself in a rut, try to get out as soon as possible with as less damage to that trail as possible. If you can do that, I'm sure we can enjoy the trails for a much longer time and have more fun with it.
As you can see, there are more than one good line to take, depending on who you are, what kind of traction you have, what your bike is, and each of us would make a different choice. But you can also see that there are many bad lines to take as well. So I hope this has informed you, has increased your riding ability, and you can go out there and practice these skills. And if you'd like more of this kind of content, like and subscribe, and join us again next time on Moto Skills Factory.